Okay, we're now ready to begin Unit 3. So the first thing you want to do is glue your table of contents. So taking a look, we ended Unit 2 on page 26. So on the very next page, you're going to glue your table of contents. Please make sure that when you fold your table of contents, you fold it so that there is a tab on both sides. And the tab should have the unit number and the title on both sides. And then you also want to make sure that when you glue it in, you glue it so that the tab sticks out just a tad bit, just a little bit, because again, the point is to get all of your table of contents to be showing. So far, I could see my Unit 1 and Unit 2 table of contents. So you want Unit 3 to look the same. Just have the tab sticking out just a little bit. So you'll see that there are 5 sections in this chapter. We're going to have an assessment after the first 2 sections, 3.1 and 3.2. And then after we complete 3.3 to 3.5, we'll have our second assessment. So looking on, remember when we label, the table of contents does not get a number. So 26 was the last page from Unit 2. So that means 27 is going to be the first page of Unit 3. And on the first page of Unit 3 is going to be a lot of vocabulary. So there are no examples to fill out on this page, but I will stress to you that it is very, very important for you to have these vocabulary words mastered and also know the symbols for each diagram and then how to write it geometrically. So this is going to be very, very important. In order to be successful in this unit, you have to know your vocab, you need to know how to read diagrams and how to write things geometrically. So starting out with parallel lines, remember parallel lines do not intersect. They are coplanar, but they do not intersect. And then zooming in a little bit closer, you're now going to see the parallel symbol in diagrams. So in order to show that 2 lines are parallel in a diagram, you're going to see these little arrows that are on each line. So that means that this line AB is parallel to line CD. And you're going to see geometrically the symbol for parallel. So the symbol for parallel just looks like 2 lines next to each other. So you would read this as line AB is parallel to line CD. So again, it's not important just to know the definition. You now have to know how to read it in a diagram and how to write it out geometrically. Okay, also know about intersecting lines. So intersecting lines, remember if 2 lines intersect, then they intersect at a point. So there's no symbol for intersection. So parallel has a symbol, perpendicular has a symbol, but there's no symbol for intersect, so you would write out the word intersect. And then perpendicular lines, they intersect to form a right angle. So you're going to see the perpendicular symbol in a diagram. It looks like the right angle symbol. And you also have the symbol for perpendicular, which is an upside down T. So you would say line LM is perpendicular to line JK. Okay, coinciding lines are the same line. So they're just lines that some people say they are on top of one another, but they're really the same exact line. And there is no symbol for coinciding. Skew lines we talked about back in Unit 1. So skew lines are non-intersecting and they're not parallel and they don't have any points in common. So in the diagram, TS is skew to QR. There's no symbol for skew, just like there's no symbol for intersecting. So you actually have to write out the word skew. You would say that line TS and line QR are skew. And then know what a transversal is. So this definitely is a new vocabulary word, unless you were introduced to it in 6th grade. But a transversal is a line that is going to intersect two coplanar lines at different points. So here you'll see that lines L and M are intersected by transversal T at 2 different points. And there is no symbol for transversal. But again, it's a line that intersects 2 coplanar lines at 2 different points. So you are going to be using all of these vocabulary words in this unit, more importantly in this section. So you want to make sure you glue this into page 27 and you become very, very familiar with the definitions and with reading it from a diagram, and also know how to write it geometrically. So you have to know now that parallel lines have a symbol, perpendicular lines also have a symbol, and you have to know what those symbols are so you can read it and write it geometrically. Okay? So that is page 27, is all your vocab for this section. Now on page 28, we are going to be applying all of this vocabulary. So page 28, you want to fold it so that you still see the title of this section. And on the front, you should see 2 new postulates. One is the parallel postulate, one is the perpendicular postulate. So the parallel postulate says that if there is a line and there is a point not on the line, then there is exactly one line through that point that's parallel to the given line. Same thing with the perpendicular postulate. You're going to start out by saying if there is a line and there is a point not on the line, then there is exactly one line through that point that's perpendicular to that line. And again, a reminder of what a transversal is. So looking at example 1, this should be very familiar because, like I said, we did this already in chapter 1. So we're just taking a look at this diagram, and it says, think of each segment in the figure as part of a line. Which lines or planes appear to fit the description? So you have to give a line or lines that are parallel to line CD and contain point A. So look at where CD is. You need a line that's parallel to CD that goes through point A. And the only line that fits that description is line AB. So you would put capital A, capital B with the line symbol on top. Part B says you need a line skew to CD. And again, it has to contain point A. So remember, skew means non-parallel and non-intersecting. So a line that's not parallel to CD and will not intersect CD but goes through point A, you could say AH is a line that is skew to CD. So you would put capital A, capital H with the line symbol on top. You could also say line AG is skew to CD because it will be non-intersecting and non-parallel. All right, C, lines that are perpendicular to CD and contain point A. So looking at line CD, I see a right angle symbol, which means perpendicular. So the line that intersects CD at a right angle would be line AD. Part D, now we need planes parallel to plane EFG and contain point A. So if you look at plane EFG, that's the bottom part of this plane. Sorry, that's the bottom plane of this figure. So if that's the bottom, and you want something parallel, then you need to look for the top plane that contains point A. So you can call that plane ABCD, you can call it plane ABC, you can go the other way and call it ADC. As long as you use any 3 points on that plane to name it, then you are fine. So we can call this plane, and you can call it plane ABCD if you need to, just to remind yourself that it's the top plane of this diagram. Okay, down at the bottom you have line markings that show how the roads in a town are related to one another. So you're reading a diagram. So part A says name a pair of parallel lines. So remember from our vocabulary on page 27 that we are looking for two lines that have the parallel symbol. So look for two lines in that diagram that have the parallel symbol. All right, and here they are. Here's that parallel symbol. So line DM is parallel to line EF. And we're going to write that geometrically using our symbols. So DM with the line symbol is parallel, use the parallel symbol, to line EF. So make sure you know how to identify parallel lines looking at the symbols, and also know how to write it geometrically. Then naming a pair of perpendicular lines. So again, we are looking for that perpendicular symbol. So use that vocab on page 27 to help you out. So looking for the perpendicular symbol in the diagram, here it is. So you would say line BM is perpendicular to line DM. So again, BM is perpendicular to DM. And we're going to write that geometrically. Line BM, make sure you use the line symbol on top, is perpendicular, use the perpendicular symbol, to DM. And then is line FE parallel to line AC? So looking at the diagram, here's EF and here is AC. So if you were to continue on with these lines, they would eventually intersect, which means that they're not parallel. So you would say no, because line FE and line AC are intersecting lines. Okay, so again, the idea here is to make sure that you can read symbols, and you could also read a diagram and look for symbols in a diagram. All right, so this is page 28. So go ahead and glue that in. And then the last page is taking a look at the types of angles formed by transversals. So page 29, you want to take your paper and fold it on like the dashed lines. Again, look for those dashed lines. You want to fold it on the dashed lines. And you'll see that there's 4 different types of angles that are formed by transversals. And if you need to know what a transversal is, again, look on page 27. So a transversal is a line that intersects 2 or more coplanar lines at different points. So if you have 2 coplanar lines with a transversal intersecting them, you could have corresponding angles that are formed. And corresponding angles lie in corresponding positions. So zooming in, notice that angle 2 and 6 are both on the right side of the transversal. So T is your transversal from this picture. So both angle 2 and 6 are on the right side of the transversal, and they lie above the 2 coplanar lines. So again, corresponding angles would be in corresponding positions. Then you have alternate exterior angles. So again, T is your transversal. Alternate exterior angles means that the angles are on alternate sides or opposite sides of the transversal. So angle 1 is on the left, angle 8 is on the right of the transversal. And they're going to be outside of the 2 coplanar lines. So that's alternate exterior. Alternate interior. So alternate meaning opposite. So the angles are going to be on opposite sides of the transversal. Angle 4 is on the left, angle 5 is on the left, angle 4 is on the right. So they're on opposite sides or alternate sides of the transversal. And this time they're inside the 2 coplanar lines. And then last but not least, consecutive interior. Consecutive interior, they lie inside the 2 coplanar lines, but this time they're on the same side of the transversal. So consecutive is on the same side of the transversal and inside the 2 coplanar lines. So these are definitely 4 new vocab words that you are going to need to practice. And inside, you're doing just that. So you're going to start by naming the transversal. So if you look at angles 1 and 12, you want to name the transversal that is used to form angles 1 and 12. So in this case, the transversal is L, line L, because line L is intersecting 2 coplanar lines, J and K. So J and K would be the 2 coplanar lines, and L would be your transversal, and that's how you would get angles 1 and 12 formed. So you would put line L. Then locate angle 3 and 6. Angle 3 and 6 are formed by transversal J, because lines L and M would be your two coplanar lines with transversal J intersecting them at two different points. So 3 and 6 are formed by line J. And then locate 7 and 15. So angle 7 and 15 are formed by transversal M, because J and K would be your two coplanar lines, and line M intersects them at two different points to form angles 7 and 15. So line M. And then 12 and 14, angles 12 and 14 are formed by transversal K, because K intersects lines L and M at two different points, forming angles 12 and 14. So that's line K. And then you're going to name all the different types of angles. So remember, corresponding angles are in corresponding positions. So you can say angle 1 and angle 9 are corresponding because they're both on the left side of the transversal and above the line. So angle 1 and angle 9 would be considered corresponding angles because they're in corresponding positions. They're both on the top left. Another pair of corresponding angles, you could say 8 and 16. So using M as your transversal, 8 and 16 are in corresponding positions because they're on the bottom right-hand side. So they're on the right side of the transversal and underneath their line. So you could say angle 8 and angle 16. Okay. And then there's a lot of other corresponding angles in this diagram. So I already used 1 and 9 and 8 and 16. So two other corresponding angles would be 2 and 10, because 2 and 10 are the bottom left. You could also say 6 and 14, because 6 and 14 are also the bottom left, but using transversal M instead of transversal L. So 6 and 14 would also be corresponding. If you wanted to rotate this figure and use J as the transversal, you could say 7 and 3 are corresponding, because 7 and 3 are in corresponding positions. They're both above the line and to the left of the transversal. So you can even call 3 and 7 corresponding angles. So it doesn't matter how you look at it. Even if you turn the figure right side up, 3 and 7 are still in corresponding positions. This time, if you rotate it, now they're at the top right. So just remember, corresponding angles are in corresponding positions. All right, so what I want you to do is try using your definitions to fill out the rest of your angles. So you have to fill out alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, consecutive interior angles, using the definitions on the front tabs. Once you are done, you can watch part 2 of this video.